All right, so get ready for a deep dive, everybody, into duty karma and the path to enlightenment. With Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga.
Oh, yeah.
He brought us quite the philosophical challenge this time.
Yeah, Vivekananda, he doesn't shy away from the big ideas.
Right.
And what really struck me was how he tackles this concept of duty. You know, it's not as simple as just like, here's a universal set of rules, is it?
No, not at all. And that's what I found so interesting right from the start, is how he really pushes us to consider, how our background, our beliefs, even the time period we live in, all of that shapes what we consider to be our duty.
Right.
Like he gives the example of Muslims and Hindus and Christians,
Yeah.
all turning to their holy books for guidance.
Right.
But their interpretations of what duty actually means could be completely different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then there's that chilling example he gives of the Thuggee cult in India.
Oh, yeah, the Thuggee.
Where murder
They believe that murder was a sacred duty.
was a sacred duty.
Yeah.
So it's a stark reminder that one person's moral compass can point in a totally different direction
Totally.
than someone else's.
And I feel like that clash of perspectives is something that fuels so much of the conflict that we see in the world today.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like we're all walking around with these invisible yardsticks,
Right.
measuring everyone else's actions against our own kind of limited understanding of what's right.
Exactly.
And I think, thinking about that anecdote that Vivekananda shares about being at the Chicago World's Fair,
Yeah.
where someone actually tugged on his turban
I know. What a moment.
because they were so shocked by his appearance.
Yeah, just completely taken aback.
It really highlights how we often judge others based on our own preconceived notions,
Right.
rather than really trying to understand their perspective.
It's that my way is the right way kind of thinking.
Yeah.
That he's really challenging us to move beyond.
So how do we move beyond that?
Right.
Like simply acknowledging that, okay, there are different perspectives.
Right.
Vivekananda seems to suggest that actually performing our duties, whatever they may be, can be a path to personal and spiritual growth.
Yeah, I think he really emphasizes the point that, fulfilling our roles in society, whether those roles are assigned at birth or kind of arise from our circumstances, that can be a refining process.
Okay.
It's almost like we're constantly being challenged to become better versions of ourselves through the actions we take.
Okay, but isn't there danger there?
Yeah.
What about those situations where we feel stuck in a role that doesn't fit?
Right.
Or, we let our egos inflate because we think we're more important than others because of our duties?
Yeah, that's a crucial point. I think what he's not advocating for is blind obedience or clinging to roles that are harmful to ourselves or others.
Right.
But he really emphasizes approaching our duties with the right mindset.
Hmm.
And that's where this fascinating concept of unattached action or nishkama karma comes in.
Ooh, this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
He tells the story about this young sannyasin, this ascetic, who has spent years, meditating and developing these impressive spiritual powers.
He could burn a crow and a crane with a single angry glance.
I mean, come on, right?
Pretty intense.
And he felt pretty proud of himself, as he should.
As one might.
Right. But then he encounters this woman who completely sees through his ego
Oh, yeah, she sees right through him.
and directs him to a vyada, essentially a butcher, to learn a deeper lesson. And this vyada has found enlightenment through his everyday work, butchering meat, caring for his family, all with complete devotion and without obsessing over the results.
Right, he's not attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
He's fully present in the action itself.
So the vyada's story is such a powerful illustration of this idea of nishkama karma.
It is.
Prompts us to ask, what if true fulfillment comes not from achieving some grand goal,
Right.
but from pouring ourselves wholeheartedly into the present moment?
Yeah, just finding joy in the action itself rather than
Yes.
fixating on, what's going to happen as a result.
This is such a radical shift
It is.
from how we usually think about success and achievement.
It's a total reframing.
Imagine applying that idea to something like volunteering. You're not doing it for recognition or reward,
Yeah.
but simply for the joy of helping others.
Exactly. And Vivekananda suggests that we can bring that same energy to all our duties, even the seemingly mundane ones.
And that's where love comes in.
Right. Love plays a huge role.
He talks about how duty becomes almost effortless when it's fueled by love and compassion.
Right.
He even uses marriage as an example, urging people to approach it with selflessness and understanding.
Yeah, putting the other person's needs before your own.
And he holds up motherhood as this ultimate example of selfless love,
Absolutely.
encouraging us to find similar opportunities to serve others with that same spirit of giving without expecting anything in return.
A pure giving.
Yeah. So we're not talking about running away from our responsibilities, but rather like embracing them with a whole new perspective.
Exactly. Finding freedom within our duties, not by escaping them.
Mhm.
But I'm curious, what's standing out to you so far?
Yeah. I think what's hitting me hardest is how counterintuitive this all feels.
Yeah.
Like we're so conditioned to think about duty as this like heavy obligation.
Right.
But Vivekananda is suggesting it can be a source of liberation.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big mental leap.
It is, and he dives even deeper into this idea when he talks about relationships,
Okay.
particularly marriage.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from the fact that friction is inevitable
Right.
in any close relationship.
Yeah, he gets pretty real about the challenges.
He does.
But he doesn't see those challenges as a reason to avoid intimacy.
Right.
Instead, he sees it as like an opportunity for growth.
Exactly. He emphasizes the importance of forbearance,
Mhm.
especially for women.
Yeah.
Though I will say his language can feel a bit outdated at times.
Hello.
He even uses a phrase that might make some people bristle today.
Okay.
He talks about some women being slaves to their own irritable, jealous temples.
Yeah, I see what you mean about the phrasing.
Yeah,
It definitely sounds a bit harsh to modern ears,
right.
and I could see how some listeners might find that off-putting.
Sure.
But if we try to like look past the language, I think his point is that we can become trapped by our own negative emotions.
Right.
And those negative emotions can prevent us from acting with love and compassion.
That's a really insightful way to frame it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about suppressing emotions,
Right.
but rather about mastering them
Okay.
so that they don't control us.
So it's about cultivating a certain inner state
Yeah.
that allows us to approach relationships with more clarity and selflessness.
Precisely. And he suggests that a person who embodies this kind of chastity,
Mm.
and I think he's using that word more broadly than just sexual abstinence,
Yeah.
more like purity of thought and intention. That is key to overcoming these internal struggles.
So someone who approaches relationships with that purity and selflessness can have a profoundly positive influence
He believes so.
on those around them.
He even goes so far as to say that, if all women were truly pure and chaste,
Oh.
there wouldn't be a single impure man in the world.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
It is
It sounds a bit idealistic,
a little bit.
maybe even a bit unrealistic in today's world,
Sure.
but it does highlight the transformative power he sees in that selfless love.
It does, and it connects back to that idea of expanding our circle of compassion.
Right.
Starting with those closest to us.
And remember that beautiful line that he uses,
Oh, yeah.
"Blessed indeed are the children who look upon their parents as divinity manifested on earth."
It's beautiful.
Such a beautiful sentiment.
It is.
And it makes you think about how we see the people in our own lives.
Mm,
What if we could start to see that divine spark in everyone we encounter?
right.
It would completely change how we interact with the world.
Absolutely. But how do we actually cultivate that kind of expansive love,
Yeah.
especially when we're bombarded with so much negativity?
It feels like a pretty tall order.
It is a challenge.
Where do we even begin?
Well, Vivekananda suggests that we start by focusing on the duty that's right in front of us.
Okay.
He uses this analogy of climbing a mountain.
Hmm.
We don't reach the summit in one giant leap, do we?
No.
We take one step at a time,
Right.
gradually gaining strength and perspective as we ascend.
So it's not about striving for some distant ideal of perfection,
Right.
but rather about just showing up fully in each moment and doing our best
Yeah, just being present.
with the tasks and the relationships that life presents to us.
Exactly. He believes that by consistently striving to fulfill our duties
Mm.
with love and detachment,
Yeah?
we slowly chip away at our ego
Right.
and allow our true nature to shine through.
It almost sounds like he's advocating for like a form of active selflessness,
Yeah.
a way of being in the world that is both deeply engaged.
And incredibly liberating. And that's where that concept of nishkama karma comes full circle.
Okay.
It's not about withdrawing from the world or shirking our responsibilities.
Right.
It's about finding a way to act in the world without being consumed by our own desires and attachments.
Right. It's not about escaping duty,
Right,
but about transforming our relationship to it.
precisely. And he believes that this transformation is possible for anyone, regardless of their background or profession.
Okay.
Think back to the Viata,
Yeah.
the butcher who found enlightenment through his humble work.
That story really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that we don't have to be a monk or a saint to experience spiritual awakening.
Right.
We can find it right here, right now, in
Exactly.
the midst of our everyday lives,
In the ordinary.
if we approach our duties with the right attitude.
And that attitude, it seems, is rooted in love, selflessness, and a willingness to let go of our attachment to outcomes.
So how do we bridge the gap
Yeah.
between these ancient teachings and our modern lives?
Yeah.
Are Vivekananda's ideas still relevant
Yeah.
in our fast-paced, hyper-individualistic world?
I'd say they're more relevant now than ever.
Really?
You know, in a world that's so focused on external achievements and material possessions,
Right.
his emphasis on inner transformation and selfless service feels like a much-needed antidote.
It's like he's offering us a path to a deeper, more meaningful kind of success.
Yeah.
One that isn't measured by likes or followers,
Right.
but by the positive impact we have on the world around us.
And that impact, he suggests, starts with embracing our duties big and small, with a heart full of love and a mind free from the shackles of ego.
It's a powerful message for sure.
It is.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you want our listener to walk away with so far?
Yeah, I'm really grappling with this whole idea of transforming our relationship with duty. It sounds so simple on the surface,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of us get so caught up in that have-to mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
But you know what Vivekananda suggests is that we move away from seeing duty as this obligation, and instead we embrace it as a path to self-realization.
Okay.
And when we make that shift, it really takes on a whole new dimension.
You know, that reminds me of something else he said about work becoming worship. Even something higher than that.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, can you unpack that for us?
Absolutely. So when we transcend that idea of duty as something we have to do,
Right.
and instead we start to see it as a way to connect with something larger than ourselves, it becomes a form of self-expression.
So the real challenge isn't figuring out what our duty is,
Right.
but how we approach it.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about shifting that internal dialogue from I have to
Yeah.
to I get to.
You know, I've been trying to apply that to my own life lately, especially with things that just feel like chores. Like instead of grumbling about doing the dishes, I try to reframe it as an act of care for myself and my family.
That's beautiful.
And it's amazing how much of a difference that simple shift in perspective can make.
It is. It's powerful, and it highlights how even the most mundane tasks
Right.
can become infused with meaning and purpose when we approach them with the right attitude.
It's like finding the extraordinary in the ordinary,
Exactly.
which seems to be like a recurring theme in Vivekananda's teaching.
It's a thread that runs through all of his work.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into karma yoga,
Yeah.
what's the one thing that we want our listener to take away from all of this?
I think it comes down to this. What duty in your life could you approach with this new perspective? What action, big or small, could you imbue with love intention and a sense of detachment from the outcome?
It's a powerful question.
It is.
It really challenges us to look at our everyday lives with fresh eyes.
And who knows, maybe by embracing our duties with this renewed sense of purpose,
Yeah.
we might just stumble upon that elusive path to enlightenment right here in the midst of our ordinary lives.
It's certainly an inspiring thought.
It is.
So to our listener, we leave you with that challenge. Find the sacred in the seemingly ordinary, the joy in the midst of duty, and the freedom that comes from acting with love and detachment. Until next time, keep diving deep.